Welcome to the Startup Sessions, the #1 web show and podcast for trusting your gut, breaking the rules, and starting something meaningful, featuring in-depth interviews with acclaimed creative entrepreneurs that have succeeded at building their own remarkable businesses. My guest today is someone that had to close a business that she loved and start completely over from scratch. Keri Murphy is with me today, and we're going to dive right into her powerful story of losing everything in 2008, moving 7 times in 3 years, and starting completely over. Today, Keri is an incredible example of building a hugely successful business while living an inspired life. And you know, the thing I really love about this discussion is that it does resemble real life. It's not always pretty, and Keri used her determination and grit to pull herself from the ashes of a failed business, a failed marriage, and bankruptcy, and now she's making a huge difference in the world doing the work that she's designed to do. Listen in as Keri talks about how she rebuilt her life and business around the things that mattered most and the important changes she made that allowed this to happen. There's so much amazing content in this episode that you're going to need several pages of your notebook to capture all the ideas that Keri's used to build an incredible business that serves people in a big way. It's all coming to you right now on episode 44 of the Startup Sessions. Hello, everyone. Today I'm speaking with Keri Murphy. Keri is a TV host, an international speaker, an entrepreneur for the last 16 years, and she's the CEO of Inspired Living, which is an incredible business and website that I've had the opportunity to check out over the course of the last couple of weeks. And it's all about helping others to live their most inspired life and their most authentic life. And I resonate so much with what that's about. Welcome to the show, Keri.
Thank you, Michael. I absolutely love what you're doing. It's an honor for me to spend this time with you today. And those of you that are listening, hello. It's wonderful to have you and look forward to today's chat.
All right, great. So here's the deal. Keri's been in front of the camera for about 20 years now, right, Keri?
Oh, gosh. You're aging me, Michael. Seriously.
It's more about it's about the experience more than the aging.
Yes. I started when I was 2. Yeah.
A young start.
Yes.
All right. And so we'll talk about this a little bit today, but you actually help people with their presence and something that you call their it factor because of your experience and leveraging your experience to help other people with that. So we'll talk about that later today. As I mentioned, you're the founder of Inspired Living, and I just love everything about your show and everything that you have on that website. And I want to, I'll link this up on the show notes, but the website is inspiredliving.tv. So be sure to go check out Keri's website. It's amazing. So Keri's done celebrity interviews on this Inspired Living site and show that she has on her site. They're amazing. I've watched a couple of them, and I also encourage people to go watch those. You do mentoring, you do coaching, and you're really empowering people. That's what I get when I see your work, is you're really empowering people to go big, to dream bigger, to live the life that they truly want to live. So in addition to that, you're a busy woman, Keri. You've partnered with the largest women's conference in the country, the California Women's Conference, and it looks like you're the executive producer. You brought that to Oregon. So you're the executive producer of the Oregon Women's Conference in 2013. Sir. That's fantastic. Yeah. Love to hear some more about that too. And I mentioned before the show, I feel like we're on similar paths. And so it's really great to connect with you and the work that you're doing through your show and elsewise. So I would love to have you maybe just start in here with telling the viewers and listeners what inspired you to start Inspired Living.
Well, to be honest with you, I really didn't have a choice. Well, it's really funny because I was talking to someone else, you kind of read the list of what I do. And, when you're in it every day and you're doing the work and you're inspired by helping people live extraordinary lives, you forget just how much that you do. I mean, you're reading my resume and my bio, and I'm going, wow, yeah, I guess I do a lot. And I was talking to someone, and she's like, oh my gosh, you have a little crazy in your DNA. And I'm like, I think us entrepreneurs or people that are big visionaries have a little cray cray in our DNA. So, but so it just made me chuckle. But, for me, Michael, I started Inspired Living after a really difficult time. I was forced to close a talent agency that I ran in 2008, and I had no idea we had this thing called the recession going on. I was young and bright-eyed and just so excited about my work. And one day, literally, it felt like I woke up and I was so underwater. There was just no way to get out from under that. And so I ended up closing that agency, filing bankruptcy, short sold my. At that point, and this is what Inspired Living is really all about, I always knew I wanted to be on camera. And I'm a middle child, so there's that part of me that's always been a coach, that's always been the rallier in my family, and the one growing up saying you can do it. And so it was a really natural progression. I always say, God has a greater plan for your life than you can probably imagine for yourself. And I literally packed up my car. That was the only thing I had left, and it was a lease. And I drove down to LA, and I really started pursuing my TV hosting full time. And at that point, I think so often we wait for someone to validate that what we know to be true about ourselves is worthwhile to pursue. And I waited for years. And when I finally got to LA and I started booking these huge jobs on TV Guide and E, it was like, oh my God, I can do this. Like, oh my gosh, I am good enough, and I can compete. And when I started doing that, there was, to be really honest, there was an emptiness about it with interviewing celebrities about their shoes or their clothes or, standing on a red carpet. It seems so glamorous, and there's parts that are. But for me, I had this epiphany, Michael, and I said, I want to interview celebrities about their story, because it's the story of success that I love. And Inspired Living really came from that epiphany, that oh my gosh, I want to take this love for hosting and being on camera and make a difference in the world. I started speaking, I dove into personal development, and people asked me, do you coach? And here's a little tip, you guys. Just say yes. Just say yes to things that scare you. And so I started coaching, and long and behold, 3 years later, I have built an incredible company that I really honestly could not have imagined for myself. And so, it's taking each day in faith and surrounding myself with amazing people and investing in myself, and each day at a time doing what I really feel like I am called to do. So I know it's kind of a long roundabout, but that's how it started. Like, I really was just open to what was next, because at that point I had no idea what that was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I love it that there's so many aspects of your story that I love. But to me, I think entrepreneurs have this ability to keep taking that next step, keep going forward, and as you said, keep saying yes. And those opportunities lead to other opportunities. And they don't all work out all the time.
No, they don't.
But it all evolves. It all evolves, and we get to then choose what we say yes to and what we say no to. But the key, I think, is taking that next step and saying yes, as you said.
Yeah, Walt Disney has a great quote. And when someone asked him, what does your future look like? He said, I don't know. It's sparkly and it's out there. And I love that, because I think that just really is an entrepreneur. Like, we see in sparkles and we have big visions, but the road sometimes changes. And that's why I say it's wonderful to have goals and know the path you want to go down, but then let go of it, because you never really know what path is going to lead you to that greatest success.
Yeah, man, that's a hard one for me, to put it out there and then let go.
I know. Trust me. I know. Preaching to the choir here. Yeah.
Oh, man. So here's something. You alluded to this a little bit in your story, but I was reading your bio on your website, and something really jumped out at me that I resonated with. You were talking about this moment where you were waiting in the casting room and you realized that you were trying to prove that you were good enough. And this is easily one of the most important decisions, I think, for any aspiring entrepreneur or anybody who has a business, is to stop waiting for someone else to validate you and to start doing your own thing. Take that step.
Yes.
How has that decision to stop waiting for someone else to validate you and to go forward with your own ideas, how has that played out and impacted you in your business and life?
You know what, Michael? It's such a good question. For me, this is my third business. So I've never
Okay.
really waited for someone to tell me to do something. If anything, I just like jump in and then figure out how to swim when I get in there.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm becoming a wiser version of myself and really becoming more of a CEO. My coach says, do you want to own a job or do you want to own a business, a company? And I'm like, oh, those are two different things, right? To own a job or own a business. But I will never forget that day. It's like in LA, by the time you get hair and makeup ready, you drive somewhere and you go into this audition room, there must have been over 250 other girls. And to top it all off, I don't share this with many people, but I was in a bikini. Now, it's not that I don't love my body, but let's just say I'm not a supermodel. So at this point, not only am I waiting for 3 hours for someone to validate, for me to get that 2 minutes to prove that I should get this spokesperson job, but I was also, in a position where I wasn't my most confident self. I was, I don't want to say I was sacrificing anything, but I was trying to show up in a way to make someone else see in me what I already knew I should be doing. And it was that day that I decided from then on out, I wasn't going to wait anymore. I was going to launch Inspired Living. I was going to start calling up celebrities. I mean, people ask me, Keri, how do you get these celebrities to interview with you? And I tell them, write this down. This is really big. I ask. I know, it's crazy. And some say no and some say yes. And, it's all about building relationships and building rapport. And what I found is that successful people love to share their stories. But, yeah, absolutely. I think we can wait forever for that perfect moment, for that perfect time. And, there really is no perfect time. There's just the time that we decide to make perfect and to step into that with reckless abandon. I mean, people say have a plan B. I think if you have a plan B, then plan A never works. If you're talented and you're an entrepreneur, which of course your listeners are, you might fall down, like you said. You might try a road and go, oops, that's not the one I wanted to go down. And then you just get to course correct. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah. I love that. Great. Okay. One of the things you talk about is igniting your it factor. Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that and why that's so important.
Well, growing up in the entertainment industry, and especially when I owned my talent agency, there were times that someone would walk in. They could have been completely green, no experience, and I would just go, wow. Like there's just something about them that is magnetic. And we called that the it factor. Now they have a show, right? The X factor. But that's really growing up. You always heard that, ooh, she or he has it. And I started watching entrepreneurs do videos. Yeah. And I have to be really honest, like my heart hurt for them. I was like, oh my goodness, so inauthentic, so wrapped up in their words. And I've had the privilege of working on camera for so many years. So I was like, oh my gosh, if they could just be themselves in a way that allowed them to connect and convert their ideal client, their life would change. And now, internet and video marketing tells me that I was onto something because video, is growing 70% this year alone. So we don't have a choice anymore whether or not we want to use video. It's a must. It's not a maybe. So igniting your it factor is that thing within you that makes you stand out, that makes you truly vibrate at a level and an energy that is magnetic and that's true, and that people are just saying, oh my gosh, I can't wait to work with you. Love what he or she is saying. I want some more of that. Yeah. And that's what I teach entrepreneurs how to do. It's like a great actor. You're never thinking about their words. Like, oh my gosh, did they say that sentence right? You're so captivated by their presence. I teach entrepreneurs to be that way on camera because you too have to be able to connect on with your viewer.
Yeah. And I can tell, when one of the things that I always naturally look for is that resonance between someone that I'm speaking with, and do they walk their talk? Are they that which they talk about being? Yes. And Keri, you're very much that. I mean, that is in such alignment, teaching the it factor with like who you are as a person on this interview. It's just complete alignment. So I love.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. I always like to point out, that when I see that and I feel that resonance. So.
Yeah, congruency is huge. I mean, you don't want someone to look one way on camera and then you talk to them and you're like, oh my gosh, or they speak on stage and then, they're backstage yelling, I mean, you really want someone who is walking their walk, and someone that isn't selling a map, that isn't saying, you know what, I can get you somewhere that I haven't been myself.
Yeah.
And so it's so much fun for me working with entrepreneurs. I mean, it's truly, I see complete transformations in 2 days. And it brings me so much joy because I'm like, oh my God, you get it.
Yeah. And you've done too, another thing that I love, and I often tell people, some of my clients and others that are curious about how do you bring ideas together. And one of the things I love to say is, you know what? Marry a couple of things that you absolutely love. Like you can't not do them. And with you, you're marrying this experience that you have in TV and the it factor and embracing that with interviewing celebrities and with working with people and helping them live an inspired life. So you're marrying all these things that you really do love, and you get to bring that to the world. So I just, again, want to acknowledge that. You're a great example of someone who's doing that, bringing all these things together that you love and enjoy.
But I just have to say, it took me a minute. I mean, I can't say that I woke up one day and it just all came together. I don't want to, have anyone listening go, oh, well, she just got it all together. I didn't. I moved out to LA for the first couple years. I was doing the audition thing. I moved 7 times in 3 years. I went on this whole personal development journey. That's where I spoke around the globe for a year. Like, I really got to know myself again. And I fought teaching on camera for a minute. I did, because I'm like, I don't want to be Keri the on-camera coach. Like, I just don't want to be just that. I have such a bigger vision. And I think sometimes, we don't want to do what's like right there. Like one, it's like you've been on camera your entire life. You've been an entrepreneur for most of your life. Like, why would you not teach entrepreneurs how to be on camera? Like, and it was that aha moment. And my business truly has tripled. Now, here's, for those of you that are listening, I was too generic before. Like, I was another business coach. I was another life coach. I mean, there's a gazillion unemployed people that are now coaches. So, and even though I love that and we need that, if you're just like everybody else, and this is where that it factor and that on-camera presence is so important, what is your unique differentiator? And we really work on that, because for me, the minute I stepped into the it factor and on-camera training and really got niche, my company just exploded. And so for those of you, again, listening, you might say, I'm a health coach, I'm a life, well, who specifically do you work with? Do you work with menopause? Do you work with men? Do you work with, getting so clear that I can't mistake what it is that you do.
Yeah.
Because if I can't really understand, when you say life coach or business coach, people go, oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm. When I say I can help you triple your income by authentically connecting to your ideal client on camera, they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So I know that's a whole different side topic, but I just get so passionate about getting clear with what makes you different and letting people know what that is.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. That's one of the things that I'm working on too. Sometimes I feel, oh gosh, what I've got is a bit too generic. So I'm always working to like niche it down a little bit more and get more specific. And I think
it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard because I know for myself, like I get prospective clients. I get some from over here that are solopreneurs, and I get some over here that share my experience of being in the corporate world. And I'm like, it's
which way do I go?
Which way do I go? Because I don't want to exclude them.
I hear that so often, and I really honor where you're at, because you don't, right? It's like you don't want to neglect, anyone on either side of that pond. But here's the thing: when you're really specific with who you're talking to. And that's what I really work with entrepreneurs on. It's like, you've got to really speak to that one person that needs you most. Yeah. And someone who's an entrepreneur and someone who is in corporate, you're going to talk differently to. Now, here's the great thing, right? There's this thing called the ripple effect. Yeah. Now, I love me some men, and I love working with men, but I primarily work with women, and I talk to women. But that doesn't mean that I don't love talking and working with men too. So, put your stake in the ground, throw that, pebble in the pond, but it's always going to ripple out. You're always going to reach more people.
Yeah. Such great advice. Thank you for that. I needed to hear that. So I know my listeners and my viewers needed to hear that. Thank you so much. Such great advice, Keri. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to remind myself too. So it's nice that I get to say it out loud, because I just get to reiterate.
So good.
For me.
All right. Here's a question that I wanted to ask you too. Well, first of all, let's start off with this. We live in this world that often tells us what we should do, what we should wear, what neighborhood we should live in, what we should drive. And yet many of the things that truly fulfill us come from, in my experience, looking within. And oftentimes not even listening to what the world says. And many times going against those things that the world says, those things that it says we should have, rather than what we should or what we can be. So my question for you was, you've created this very inspiring, yet I would say unconventional life and business. And you've talked a little bit about your journey to get there. And we all take this journey, but you serve a big purpose in the world. How did you get to the point where the voice of Keri Murphy became louder and more important than the voice of everyone else and what society says to do?
Gosh, such a good question. Well, I definitely live in spirit. You know, I do believe in God. I believe that there's a bigger calling. And whether you believe that or not, if you can just think outside of yourself, that there is something that's driving you in the world, that of all the people that could have been born, you were born. And let me tell you, if you do your research, you will realize the slim chance that you actually have of that sperm getting in that egg and making you. I mean, really, it is a miracle. So if you really can look at that out of the 7 billion people in the world, there will never be another one of you. Why would you not listen to what you feel is your highest and best use? And I know I struggled for years. I got married. I did everything that society said to do. I had the house. I had the cars. You know, I had it. And then I didn't have any of it. I got divorced. I lost everything. And I think that really cleaned the slate for me. And it made me go within and say, what is important to you? Is having the fancy house and the cars and, you know, the 2.5 kids, is that what is important to you? And I still struggle with that, honestly, Michael, because I live in 2 places. My family's in Portland, but most of my work is down here in Southern California. I can work anywhere. But, you know, I feel like, oh, I should be with my family, but my calling's over here, you know, so it's not that I don't struggle with that too, but here's what I truly believe. Dream it, live it, be it. When you're committed to being a certain way, showing up in the world in a certain way, everything that you search for outside of you shows up. Everything that you want, that you need, that is going to help you, shows up. But you, like you said, you have to be committed to being the type of person that's going to create what it is externally that you want. So, you know, if you want like this amazing house, or you want to live by the ocean, or you want to travel the world, well, what type of person shows up? You know, who do you need to be? And why is that important to you? So, you know, going back to that why conversation, I love nice things. I'm not going to lie, you know, but I've lived in, you know, shacks. I moved 7 times in 3 years. I can only begin to tell you that story. So I think when you're really happy, really doing what you feel like you're called to do, then everything else externally shows up that you need to support you. But for me, it's when I'm seeking things outside myself, when my ego gets too involved, is when things start to go a little sideways. So, you know, I'm constantly checking myself too. You know, I'm a human being. I always struggle with those external things, but I am so committed to showing up a certain way in the world that that I've been really fortunate that everything that I need has shown up too.
Fantastic. Love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a big question, and I'm always
It's a big question.
It is,
yeah.
and I'm always curious to hear people's response to that. So thank you for sharing that so openly and candidly. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I work with people that want to make 6 figures or make, you know, $1 million. And I always say, why? Why? You know, is it so you can continue to do great things? Because women, we have a propensity not to really, you know, put our stake in the ground and value what it is. And so we undercharge a lot of times. But here's the thing. What type of person do you have to be that can create that sort of $1 million business? You know, your $1 million mindset is different than your 50,000 a year mindset. And it sounds airy-fairy and a little woo-woo, but your mind is so powerful. Yeah. And so when you can start figuring out your beliefs, why you believe, what gets in the way of what you want externally, and who, like I said, who you're committed to being, it blows my mind. Every day it blows my mind. Our brain blows my mind because it's capable of so much more than we think.
Oh, yeah. That's that inner work that Sometimes I love and sometimes I don't love. I'm like, whoa!
Amen. I hear it.
How did that belief get in there?
Exactly.
Yeah, so true. All right. Keri, if someone's questioning, I get this question a lot. I try to ask questions from the perspective of my listeners and viewers. And oftentimes, I get a lot of questions about, people just seem to be on the fence about starting their business or taking it to the next step or volunteering for that important project or maybe even taking that trip of a lifetime that's been on the back burner forever and they just feel stuck. What is Keri Murphy's advice to someone that's feeling stuck on the fence, just like can't quite seem to just make that decision to go for it?
Okay, here we go. Close your eyes. Take a big deep breath and jump. Jump, do it. And again, I got a little crazy in my DNA, but here's the thing is that we don't know what tomorrow brings. We really don't know. Yeah. And if you have, and I say this a lot, but if you have that tugging on your soul strings, that tugging on your heartstrings to do something, be something, experience something, why aren't you doing it? It's not an accident. Like, I really don't believe that we have these gifts and talents and dreams to be like, ha, nice try, not going to get there. Like, I really feel like they're for a divine purpose. I do, and I believe it so much because I've seen it over and over again with my clients. So when you step into it, now 2 things I'm going to tell you to do. I'm going to tell you, number 1, just step into it. You've heard it before, feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah. But here's the other piece of advice. And this has been the life changer. This is what has helped me create a multi-6-figure company in just a couple years, and why the agency, although it was doing really well, it crashed. Here's the thing. You got to keep developing yourself, and you have to invest in people that can help you get there. Coaches and mentors for me have changed my life. And I remember my first coach, it was a couple $100 a month, and I honestly had no idea how I was going to pay that. I signed up, like the clock on the computer was 4, 3, 2, and I'm like, and I enrolled in this program, and it was stepping into that, not knowing the outcome, saying, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to make this payment, but I know that I need it because I can't create what I want on my own. You can't create what you want on your own because we don't even know the questions to ask. We don't know. Yeah. So you have to find someone that has walked a mile or more, where you want to be and in your shoes and can really understand and help you get results. You can get them on your own, but I don't know about you, like 5 years, 10 years, a year, a couple months, like I don't know, which one do you want? And when you work with someone, it's like a beeline, to really helping you get clear, especially if you're talking about a business. The E-Myth, we're going to talk about books. That's one of my favorite books, though, because it talks about, are you a technician in your business? Because so many people are working for someone and they go, oh, I'm going to start my own. But you've never run a company before. And that's how I was with the agency. I worked for the agency for years. I had done every position. So in my mind, I thought, well, I can run this business. Bada bing, bada boom. I know this. But being a technician and running a company are 2 different things. Like I said, owning a job or running a business. So find someone to help you and really find people to support you. Find like-minded people to hang around because we're few and far between, but you need community. You should not be doing whatever you want to do on your own. And whether it's a vacation, you want to start a business, you want to go climb a mountain, like go find people that are doing it. Get some help. Book it. Get it on your calendar. Because we really don't know. We don't know how long we have. And
Such a powerful...
You can tell I'm passionate about that question.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. No, it's fantastic. And, I'm a huge backer of that. I don't know if you'd call it philosophy or whatever, but it's so important. I tell people often, I wouldn't have made the transition from being in a corporate job for 14 years to doing what I love today full time without coaching, without a coach, without people that had already been there and done that. It wouldn't have happened. It changed my perspective. It changed the things I did every day. It changed the things I did on the side while I still had my job. It changed everything. It changed my life. And so you're speaking to the choir when you're talking to me, but for everyone that's listening and viewing,
it's a game changer.
Jump.
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 And don't be afraid up not having all the answers. If you have a mentor or a coach, or even, if you're involved in like a mastermind, those sort of things, and don't be afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
We all make them. It's a part of life. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, I think it's Richard Branson. You could tell I love quotes. He's like, fail fast. It's like, I love that. Who cares? Like, now I was so ashamed of closing the agency and all that. I'm like, so what? I tried. It didn't work. I learned so much. And now I'm in a place that, again, like, if you asked me what my 5-year plan was 5 years ago, this whole thing would not even be in the hemisphere. And that is what's so exciting. That's what's so exciting, is that you don't even know. If you start stepping out in faith and you start testing those waters, what's going to show up? You just don't know. And I love that. I think that's, I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really, for me, it's like I get so much more juice out of life and waking up every single day with like really just not knowing. And it takes some getting used to when
it does.
In my corporate job, it was all about controlling everything around me, right? And as an entrepreneur, it's kind of the opposite of that. I mean, you don't know what to expect.
It's controlled chaos. It's 24/7.
It is. Yet that for me, that's like the ultimate feeling of really being alive and really challenging myself and really getting to make a difference in the world. So for me and where I'm at today, like, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and you know what? We need people in corporate too. It's not a good or bad sort of thing, but I do think that if you have that, if you're straddling both lines right now, where you're like, okay, when can I? And I'm not going to tell you to quit your job today. Like, even though I'm like, quit your job today. No, I'm not saying that. But at some point, you're going to have to make a decision, and it's difficult. I mean, I never worked in corporate. I started my first business at 23, so it's not that I never had a job, but I let go of that net a long time ago. But I completely understand for those of you that are still, you have what you consider security. But here's what's so amazing is that when you really figure out what you can bring to the table. And for me, success is losing it all and being able to do it all over again, and I feel like I'm in that place in my life that if Inspired Living closed tomorrow, I could go do something else tomorrow. And that's what's so great. Security is, I think, a mindset. And when we're really feeling like, am I doing today what I feel is my best and highest use in the world? I ask that question all the time. Am I doing today what I feel is my best and highest use in the world? And if the answer is no too often, then I get to readjust and delegate and find team, because it is easy, Michael, and I know you can probably relate to this, to feel like you're doing everything all over the place. And so as you grow into your business and your vision, making sure that you're really doing what you are called to do and delegate the rest. Team.
That's a powerful question to ask yourself. Thanks for sharing that. That was the point where I was actually laid off a year ago, and I had been asking myself a version of that question probably a good year, and it was just like kind of nagging on me and dragging on me that I knew that I needed to create something that was more me. And so that layoff became the opportunity for me to jump into and really embrace and take this opportunity to create something that I really wanted to create. So
and how do you feel now?
I feel great. I feel so alive. I've never felt more alive.
I can hear it. I love it.
It's been a ride. It's been a roller coaster. There's been ups, there's been downs, there's been all over the place. But it's been the most exciting and alive that I've ever been in my working life. And it spills over. I don't care what people say about like keep your job here and personal life.
Oh no, I am Inspired Living 24/7. There's no break.
Yeah, it all runs together, and it can either positively affect other things or negatively affect other things. Right. It's all intertwined. I don't care what people say.
For sure, it is. Yeah, there's no like. I'm going to turn it off now.
Yeah. So
but that's really exciting, Michael, and I'm really happy for you. I think it is, we've all heard it before, breakdown to breakthrough. But a lot of times too, if something really tragic or something like a layoff or something outside of our own circumstances, our own ability didn't happen to us, right? We wouldn't be where we are. Yeah. And I think, a lot of businesses start that way, and then it's training your mind to actually run a business and really understanding how to grow that and how to leverage your gifts. But, if I hadn't gone through the agency closing, I certainly wouldn't be here. So I I think, again, I'm a walking cliche sometimes, but like everything really does happen for a greater reason. If you're willing to look at it, some people will play victim their whole life. And that hurts my heart so much, because the possibilities through challenges is really incredible, who you can turn into and the work that you can do. But that takes a mindset too.
Yep, sure does. All right. Thanks, Keri. Hey, I think it's time to jump into our lightning round of questions. You ready for that?
All right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. What's been the most influential book for you?
Most influential book. I have to say, I always quote The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
And talk about, Keri, what do you do if you're on the fence, you don't know? Read that book.
Yeah.
Read that book. It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's easy to read. It's a quick read.
I love the book too. It's on my bookshelf to my right over here. And
yeah, it's a good one.
You've reminded me that it's probably time to read it again. I just love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Think and Grow Rich too. It's a classic. It's a must read.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Best conference or industry event and why?
Hello. It's called the Oregon Women's Conference.
Why did I know you were going to say that?
Hello.
How about for us guys? Where do we show up in that?
Okay. All right. Let me think. That's a good. The guys are more than welcome.
Oh, okay.
We love men in the room too.
All right.
Yes, you are more than welcome.
Great. So, okay, tell us about a little bit about the Oregon Women's Conference. Why should someone go to the conference? What's it about? What are they going to get?
Well, what I love so much is that we hear this word balance all the time, and honestly, Michael, I don't believe there is such thing. I think that in life we concentrate on different things at different times, but there's different pillars that we have in our life. We have financial, we have physical, we have career, we have relationships, social, we have community. So what I love about the Oregon Women's Conference is that you might show up and you're doing great in business, but your relationships are really suffering. Or, you have a great partner, but you're broke. So no matter where you're at, and broke is only a temporary word. That's really, don't ever say that word out loud. You're temporarily without cash. You're not broke. That's DC Cordova. She works with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert. So yeah, anyway. So what I love about it is that it's not just a business event. And the caliber of people that show up and we had quite a few men too, were phenomenal. And all my speakers and all the exhibitors are hand chosen to support you in one of those 5 pillars of your life. So it's one of those things where if anywhere in your life you feel like your glass might be a little half empty, that you could come and get poured into and really feel like you have the support to move forward.
Great. That sounds that sounds cool. It sounds like a great conference.
It's great. My speakers too. We had Lisa Nichols, Sekou Andrews, India, Kenny Stearns, who's the VP of programming at OWN. Ariana Huffington did a video for us. It was pretty. It's inspirational, but inspiration is fleeting, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that you had inspiration with action, things that you could take away. And so it's one of those things. You're going to get filled up and excited and really see what's possible for you through other people's stories. Inspired living. But you're also going to get some tangible action items that you can do to move you forward.
Great. When is the next one?
That's a very good question. Right now we're looking at end of June or July in beautiful Portland, Oregon. But if you go to my website, please look under Oregon Women's Conference and we'll have updates there. And we also have a Facebook page so you can stay. We're still in pre-planning for next year.
Got it. Okay. And I'll put the link for the conference on the show notes for this episode. All right.
Great. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. What's the most effective strategy for growing your business? Your favorite most effective strategy for growing your business?
Well, you're probably going to be surprised at this one. So hold your seat. Video.
Cool.
Shock and awe. Okay, two things. Definitely mentorship for me, investing and coaching, hands down.
Yeah.
It's not just it's not a strategy per se, but it is the quickest way to get from where you are to where you want to be, is finding someone to help you get there.
Yeah.
But with 8 out of 10 views online being video, and understanding that someone is 75% more likely to join your list, to opt in if there's a video. I mean, it is the quickest way to build rapport with someone outside of speaking or seeing them face to face. And it has been a strategy that I haven't always monetized. Like my Inspired Living interviews, I don't make money on those, but they're branding and they position me. And really, when it comes to your business, it's all about positioning. It is. It's all about how you show up and what you put out into the world. So, I mean, video is such an important strategy and piece that everyone needs to be using in their business.
Yes. Okay. I agree. 100%.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Favorite business tool or resource?
Well, it's a new one for me, and I couldn't imagine my life or business without it now, and it's Infusionsoft.
Okay.
You know, it's a marketing software, and it's robust. I mean, I wouldn't say if you're just starting out, you don't need Infusionsoft, because it is an investment. But the ability to have everything automated and have a welcome series and have a launch set up. And when someone opts into Inspired Living, you're going to get a series of videos, and that's already done. I don't have to worry about it. So we only have so much time in our life and in our days. So again, are you using it to the best and highest use possible? So for me, automation, leverage is key. So as far as software goes, Infusionsoft.
Okay. Love it. All right. And finally, what's the most recent exciting adventure that you've had, and or favorite hobby, or some combination of those things?
I've been working a lot. So, I mean, I would say the Oregon Women's Conference that I hosted in July has been the last really amazing thing that I was involved with. Over 350 people. But I will say, to get to know me a little bit, I love playing the piano, and so that's something that I really enjoy. And I love the ocean. So every day that I get to be, by the ocean and walk by it is a good day. So,
love it. Nice. All right. Very cool. Finally, let's wrap up with this, Keri.
Okay.
Tell us what you're most excited about in your business right now. What new projects are you working on? What's like front and center for you right now? You're just like ready to burst. I can see it.
Well, there's a couple things.
Okay.
And I'm a little premature, so we are looking at starting a product line of some sort. So stay tuned, because I don't want to talk before it's confirmed and we get all that going. But check it out, because it's going to be really cool.
Okay.
But something else that I'm really excited about is when I launched Inspired Living, it was always about, it's so much more than just your business. An inspired life is living in spirit. Those 5 pillars is even though they might not be balanced at all times, that you have the resources that you need to really, make you feel like one of those is complete. So I'm looking at bringing in different contributors and other coaches and mentors into Inspired Living. So I'm really excited about that, because if someone comes to the site and they're really needing financial advice or relationship help, you can find someone outside of me to work with you. But of course, you're going to want to work with me. So Inspired Living, It Factor trainings were already booked through all of 2015.
Wow.
And,
cool.
So for me, it's just growing. I always say there's a point when you start a business that for the first bit, it just feels like you're pushing up this insurmountable, huge boulder that most days you feel like, oh my gosh, if I let a finger go, it's going to roll me right over. But then there's this amazing thing, and it's called that tipping point, right? That Malcolm Gladwell talks about. And it's where momentum hits, and you have to be just as ready for that. So we're really bringing on a new team and looking how we can take Inspired Living and really serving our clients to the next level. And so that's exciting.
That is exciting.
A little crazy, but exciting.
Like you said, you got to be a little crazy to take on these projects.
A little crazy. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, Keri Murphy from Inspired Living at inspiredliving.tv. Please go to the site, check out her incredible work there. You've got so much on the site. Business coaching services, mentorship. Gosh, just so much that you've got going on. So many exciting things. So be sure to check it out. I'll link it up at thestartupsessions.com/episode/44. Keri, thank you so much for being on the show today.
You're so welcome, Michael. It was a lot of fun. And I just love what you're doing. We're going to need to get you at an It Factor coming up here pretty soon.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like...
Even though you're really natural on camera, you're really great.
There's always room for improvement. Thank you for bringing your your story, your inspiration, your energy, your joy. You really bottle that up, and it comes through so authentically. So thank you for sharing everything that you brought to the table with us today. I know this is going to be a fantastic episode favorite. I can already tell.
Great. Well, thank you again for having me, and I appreciate everyone that took the time out to listen today. I know that time is one of the most precious things that we have, so make sure you're using yours well.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on next week's episode of the Startup Sessions. Bye.
Bye.
Well, if that's not enough to inspire you into action, then I don't know what is. One of the most important lessons for an entrepreneur, or anyone for that matter, is to stop trying to prove our worth by being someone or doing something that we're not. And Keri's example of getting clear on what makes you different is so very important. I had my own aha moment in this interview when Keri challenged me to find that thing that makes my business unique and to put a stake in the ground on that subject and go after it. If you have something tugging at your soul that's telling you that it's time to make your mark, do as Keri says and jump. Don't try to do it all by yourself. Find support and get mentored by someone who knows how to guide you towards where you want to be. But by all means, take one small step today in the direction that you know you're being called towards. Thanks for listening today. Have a great week and live bravely. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to head on over to thestartupsessions.com for a full recap of all our episodes, including links to amazing resources for each guest, thoughtful and provoking blog articles, and many other great resources. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And if today's guest can create a meaningful business and achieve a life of freedom through a business with soul, why can't you?